And a few hours later, I get a phone call. It's Mark. Gibson. He goes, yeah. He goes, I heard you almost bid it. Very nice guy, right? And I said, right, this is the hard conversations sometimes we have with people for their advisor. I heard you almost bid it. Do you think you would have left your wife and your son with enough money? And I thought, no, you're right. I wouldn't. No, you're right. He goes, let's double it up, at least. Okay, done. We'll double it up. He goes, I go, send me the paperwork. He goes, oh, no. He goes, I have a few more questions for you. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, well, what happens if you lived, but the plane crashed and you were disabled? And you couldn't speak anymore, couldn't stand on stage. I said, that's a horrible question, Mark. And he said, well, do you think the government's going to take care of you? I said, no. He said, I'll take care of you. He says, it's called disability insurance. So he signed me up for disability. And I said, okay, we're done, Mark. And he said, no, one more question. I said, what? He says, well, there's this thing called critical illness. So if you would have had like a heart attack on the way down and permanently injured your heart or something like that, or something else happened due to stress, then would you like to wait for our medical system? Or would you like $250,000 to go off and get whatever treatment you want? I said, that sounds like a good idea. He said, fantastic. And so next thing I know I've now been there 2 decades paying a lot of money to Mark. But the whole point is that he really asked the blind spot questions, right? And he brought them up and he put a light on it. And sometimes we also have to wait for the right time to do it. But we've got to dig in like that with people sometimes, right? And we've got to point them to look at things they're not willing to. And sometimes this happens as a coach and an advisor, but it can also happen in an initial discovery call as well, in conversation with people. I'll ask a sales leader something, for instance, I'll say, tell me about, you have a CRM? Yes, I have a CRM. Are your salespeople using it? He goes, yeah, sort of. I go, did you know that if your salespeople aren't using your CRM well, and then they leave, you lose about 70 to 80% of their sales pipeline? It's like a long pause. And I'm like, are you sure you're okay with CRM implementation? Maybe not. Maybe I got to think about this today. How often do you lose a team member? Oh, once or twice a year, I have to replace one. Okay, so what is that costing you? And so these are some of the questions that often we need to have with people to really help them see the value. And so these are, when I think about blind spot questions, a really important part of our needs analysis. So I see a few in this document already, but I would say that you know your market well. You also have very specific, unique segments that it's important for you to build your own needs analysis for the segments you're catering to bring some of these questions into the conversation. So who feels this way? Most people don't listen, they just wait for their turn to talk. Anybody? Right? Who's been guilty of this a few times? This guy right here, right? And so really important is that a big part of being able to do a great needs assessment or discovery conversation is the ability to hold space. And to actually, even though I have a bunch of questions and an agenda, I actually suspend the agenda while I ask the questions. That I'm really there to truly hear somebody, right? Because that's what real rapport is about. People talk about matching and mirroring or personality styles, but real rapport is about being totally present and accounted for, and that other person feeling that we're truly listening. That's really what it's about.